conflicting interests and issues of our times. I pray that you would grant them a sense of the welfare and true needs of the people of Lancaster. Pray that you would grant them confidence in what is good and fitting, and the ability to work together in harmony even when there is an honest disagreement. Pray that you would grant them personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Lancaster. I pray also that you would bless the people of Lancaster, that you would protect us. Allow your peace to reign in our city and our lives. I pray that the people would prosper and live fulfilling lives. It is in Jesus' most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sean, you want to do the pledge for us, please?
Please raise your right hand over your heart and face the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay. Consent calendar. Anything to be pulled from it? We have cards on CC 16. So let's take care of the rest of it. We'll pull CC 16.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exclusion of CC 16.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. Passes with 4 yes votes. CC 16. Do you guys want a presentation, or let's just hear you guys? Grace?
Good evening, Council. My name is Grace Kajabadi, and I am 12 years old. I first spoke with you here last July about the Smoke-Free Initiative. Most recently, on May 31st, I participated in the World No Tobacco Day. Our objective was to clean American Heroes Park and a part of Lancaster Boulevard from smoke products which are highly toxic. Last year, the highest concentration of cigarette butts was in the playground. 769 butts were picked up in just 1 hour. This year, I cleaned the same area, and there was over 1,300 cigarettes. These are the cigarettes.
Daryl and his friends won't go there anymore.
And we all picked up those 1,300 cigarettes in just the playground, and over 5,000 picked up from the park. Again, these were picked up in just the short time period of 1 hour. Our goal is to make the parks and public outdoor areas smoke-free. Secondhand smoke is a huge issue and health concern for all. The EPA classifies secondhand smoke as a huge issue and health concern. The EPA classifies secondhand smoke as a cancer-causing agent that increases your risk of lung cancer, heart disease, COPD, and stroke. According to the Los Angeles Public Health Department, Lancaster has the highest rate of lung cancer deaths and chronic obstruction pulmonary COPD deaths in the county at 39.8 and 72, 1 per 100,000 residents respectively. Research shows that you can be exposed to high levels of secondhand smoke even outdoors, and there is no safe amount. There are over 250 toxic chemical compounds found in cigarettes. Secondhand smoke hurts babies and children. Their bodies are small and still growing. According to the California Department of Health, the risk starts even before a baby is born. It can cause miscarriage, premature birth, and low birth weight. Children breathing secondhand smoke are more likely to suffer from colds, coughing, sore throats, ear infections, asthma attacks, bronchitis, and pneumonia. I myself was born premature and had many breathing and lung issues as a baby and a young child. When I've been unintentionally around secondhand smoke, it has induced asthma attacks and I've had trouble breathing. There have been many laws passed in California to protect its citizens from the harms of secondhand smoke, such as the Smoke-Free Workplace Law, which prohibits smoking in any kind in all indoor workplaces, including restaurants and bars. The City of Palmdale passed their outdoor smoke-free ordinance back in February. Beverly Hills and Calabasas have also passed citywide bans to prohibit exposure to secondhand smoke in most of their outdoor areas, with a few exceptions. In fact, many cities and all communities in Los Angeles County already prohibit smoking in public spaces, such as parks, beaches, and outdoor dining areas. In addition, many cities prohibit smoking in multi-unit housing complexes, such as apartment buildings, to reduce exposure to secondhand smoke. I understand that there is a fine line between public safety and individual rights. I'm not asking for tobacco use to be outlawed altogether. I'm asking for you to support the ordinance to make outdoor public spaces, especially where kids are present, smoke-free. It's time for Lancaster to step up and protect our youth and our community from secondhand smoke and tobacco waste.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Andy?
Okay, good evening, council members. My name is Andy, and I am a project coordinator at Antelope Valley Partners for Health and a health equity advocate. I came here to support the passing of the new smoke-free ordinance because without it, our population will continue to be involuntarily exposed to secondhand smoke that causes a plethora of different health problems. In the previous meeting, the idea of designated smoking areas was brought up. Our coalition strongly opposes the idea of designated smoking areas, mainly because smoke travels through the air, and according to the Attorney General, there are no safe levels of exposure to secondhand smoke. Aside from that, the city must also remember that having these designated areas would increase costs associated with building these places, including receptacles and additional signage. The proposed ordinance before you has also failed to encompass 2 additional areas of concern, which would include outdoor dining areas and sidewalks. And our coalition hopes that you will consider including these 2 areas as part of your approval. A lot has changed in the past few decades regarding the social acceptance of smoking and the science behind the harmful effects it causes the individual smoking and the people around them. And in LA County, the Antelope Valley ranks #1 in tobacco-related lung cancer deaths, asthma, COPD, and emphysema. And I think that it's time to make a change. Thankfully, progress has been made in the AV, as the City of Palmdale has passed a similar comprehensive smoking ordinance this past February that prohibits smoking in all outdoor areas. Lancaster is a city that deserves to flourish as a leader in healthy living, and I believe passing this updated smoke-free ordinance would help us get there. I hope you vote in favor of this updated smoke-free ordinance. And again, thank you for your time and for hearing us out. Thank you, sir.
Vanessa?
Vanessa couldn't be here tonight because she is under the weather, but asked me to read her statement as well. Good evening, council members, and all in attendance tonight. A few short weeks ago, we spoke on behalf of the Smoke-Free Outdoor Areas Coalition, and today we return in order to clarify the terms and standards by which this organization wishes to operate. At the previous City Council meeting, the parameters for smoke-free outdoor areas and secondhand smoke travels were discussed. After much elaboration on the topic, our research concluded that designated smoking areas are indeed more costly for city expenditures, and in the long run do not prohibit the dangerous effects of smoke in the environment. Examples show that designated smoking areas are not conducive to the overall approach of this initiative. Locations such as Disneyland previously boasted designating smoking areas, yet due to rebellion in the parks, such areas were removed in favor of totally smoke-free parks. Beverly Hills was one of the first cities in California to be exempt from the use of tobacco products on public property, and Lancaster would only benefit from such a law as well. By entertaining the idea of designating smoking areas, Lancaster increases its total expenditure for the process, whilst infringing upon the rights of citizens in the sense that non-smokers are still subjected to secondhand smoke in outdoor areas.
Thank you. Jonah?
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
My name is Joanna Kantiok. I was the assistant project specialist that oversaw this program. I've been a part of this project for the last 3 years from the ground up, and as you can see, we've done a lot of progress and done whatever we can that's necessary to bring this to light to the City Council. I just wanted to emphasize on everyone's comments tonight and just speak about the importance of this ordinance. I definitely wanted to speak on the importance of including sidewalks and outdoor dining areas. I know that we have spent a lot of time meeting with Sonia and also Jason in the past to bring this to light, but it was a little disappointing when we saw that outdoor dining and sidewalks were not included. I know there's been a big issue of people speaking about rights and taking the rights of those away, and we want to make sure and make it clear that we are not here to do so. We are here to protect all those that cannot speak for themselves and speak up. I know smoking has been an issue in the past for everyone in this community as well as other communities elsewhere, and that's why we're here to speak on that today. I also wanted to speak on a proposal that we had, if you do consider including sidewalks. The City of Beverly Hills, they do have it included in their ordinance since they have a citywide ban that they do prohibit smoking on sidewalks with the exception of smoking while actively traveling. That's something that we wanted to bring to light in case that's something that you were willing to consider today. And I also wanted to speak on behalf of Antelope Valley Partners for Health because I know that a lot of times when we bring these issues, the next question is, well, we passed this ordinance, so what's next? What's going to be done about it? Well, Antelope Valley Partners for Health currently has a cessation program that they're working on to help people in the community who are willing and able to look for resources to try and quit smoking. So we are definitely here behind the City Council, behind the entire city of Lancaster, speaking in support of this ordinance, and we hope that you guys will consider passing it with the inclusion of outdoor dining areas as well as sidewalks. And I want to thank you guys again so much for listening to us today, for your time, and for giving this ordinance a chance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Good evening, Council. I'm here tonight to speak about my experience with the Smoke-Free AV Outdoor Coalition. I'm a 33-year-old resident of Lancaster, California, and never in my 33 years have I been so involved in or felt so passionate about taking actions for my community. I've had a lot of outlets, but I give a lot of acknowledgement to the AV, the outdoor. I swear they say this is going to get easier when you come up here and speak, but I have a very hard time. This is not normal for me. So basically, I just participated in the second annual cigarette butt cleanup. So I've been a part of the coalition for the last year, and I've seen the progress that the coalition, and they've taught me, how to use my voice, how to come and speak in a manner that might be able to gain rapport so we can move forward, because this seems like an easy fix for me. It seems like a simple one. Tobacco is harmful. It's addictive. I mean, look at how we treat the outdoor, like we don't allow drinking outdoors. We don't allow smoking marijuana outdoors. I mean, there are ways to figure out how to, without restricting people's feelings, because we're talking about actual harmful facts. So basically, I just wanted to share my experience with the coalition and give them so much appreciation and gratitude, and that they even have such an opportunity available to us in this community. And thank you guys for listening to us and giving us the time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve CC 16 as comprised.
I second that. We have a motion and a second. Let's vote. Passes with 4 yes votes. Okay. I'm going to go a little out of order and go to JPH 1. Kitty, you're in charge.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Do we want to hear the staff report or waive?
Well, let's open the public hearing first,
Okay.
and then we'll hear the staff report on JPH 1.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council and Housing Authority members. Back in 2007, the former housing agency purchased 45534 5th Street East and rehabilitated the house under the foreclosure program. In 2010, the home was used as a community wellness home. Eventually, due to changing needs, the services for the wellness home were consolidated at other locations, and the home has remained vacant for the past several years. And then earlier this year, we began receiving ongoing reports regarding vandalism to the house, and staff recommended it would be in the best interest of the neighbors who were complaining and also the city to sell the home and have it occupied immediately. The city originally received 3 offers, with 2 backing out, and the remaining offer came from Mr. Gojali. Approval of the agreement would provide approximately $362,000 in revenue to the low mod income housing asset fund, and the amount of revenue would be the effective purchase price of $390,000 minus the closing cost. Thank you.
Any questions?
I do have a question. This was initially on the calendar a couple weeks ago. I think you probably answered it, but did the other buyers back out?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Do we have any speaker cards?
I don't have any.
Okay. So we can close the joint public hearing.
Okay, and I'll move that we adopt Resolution 23-19, 1 and 2, and adopt Resolution HA 2-22, 1 and 2.
For clarity, Resolution 22-19?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second that.
All right, let's vote.
So for the Housing Authority, I have to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
So Housing Authority Member Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chris,
Yes.
Chair Zeto.
Yes. It passes unanimously. All right, turn the meeting back to you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. And Kitty, if you'd like, you could sneak out. We'll go to
We need the
PH.
council to vote.
Do
The
what?
Housing Authority voted, now we need the council to vote. It's a joint item.
Thank you. I was feeling left out.
So you want the council to vote also on this?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's not on my script, but
I'm sorry.
can we have, do we need a motion for the council?
We should have a motion for the
I'll
council.
make the same motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
I voted already.
You did. You voted already.
Now we can vote electronically?
No.
Yes.
Is it, this is electronic. We don't need to have a oral vote. Okay.
Passes with 4 yes votes. Okay, now can I go back to PH1?
Yes.
Okay.
Help them out, Allison. Help them out.
We'll back up to PH1 22 or 21-02. I'll open the public hearing. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, council members, and members of the public. Tonight, I will be presenting the draft general plan safety element, environmental justice element, and the housing element for your consideration. So I'm going to go ahead and do an overview of the 3 elements, stating the policies and goals that we have for each of them, do an overview of how we got here, and our community engagement as well. Okay, so the first element is a safety element, and this update was focused to respond to specific changes to state law pertaining to emergency preparedness and climate change.
So there are 3 new goals, and they are, the first one is be a community with a strong sense of readiness to address emergency situations, to have an evacuation network that meets current needs and accommodates future growth, and have a built environment that incorporates new data and understanding about changing hazard conditions and climate stressors, especially extreme heat and severe wind events. The next element is the environmental justice element. A new environmental justice element was drafted to respond to state law mandate for all jurisdictions to evaluate environmental justice in their general plans. So what is environmental justice and what is the purpose? So the purpose of the EG element is to address public health risks and environmental justice concerns of those living in disadvantaged communities. The area shown in dark orange, it's that L shape on the northeast corner of the city, has been determined as a disadvantaged community because it bears a disproportionate burden of pollution and health risks through pollution in water, air, or soil. This area also generally has a higher population of people that are low income and sensitive populations in terms of health risks, often with higher rates of chronic health issues like asthma and heart disease. So equitable outcomes come about when smart, intentional strategies are put in place to ensure that everyone can participate in and benefit from decisions to shape their neighborhoods and communities. And this is where the environmental justice element takes place. So we have 7 new goals to address environmental justice in the community. The first one is access to affordable housing options, healthy and safe living conditions. The second is to access to opportunities for outdoor recreation, physical activity, and healthy foods are also important goals to foster healthy lifestyles for residents. Goals and policies that support climate resiliency also ensure a more stable environment for the residents. A goal for strong civic engagement is intended to empower residents to help shape the future. And lastly, the promotion and expansion of job opportunities, community programs and services using the lens of environmental justice that will support additional positive outcomes for residents of the EJ community. The next element is the housing element. This is a state-required element of the general plan, and requires review and certification by a state agency, the Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as HCD. So the housing element is a unique element because much of the housing element is driven by statewide legislation intent instead of local preference. The legislative have declared that the availability of housing is vital statewide importance. Local and statewide governments have a responsibility to facilitate the improvement and development of housing to address housing needs for all economic segments of the community. So the housing element has 5 main goals. The first one, to promote a variety of housing types. The second, meet the needs of lower income and special need households. The third, to preserve existing housing stock. The fourth, to remove constraints to housing production. And the fifth, promote fair housing for all residents. So as part of the process, this does have to go through HCD review. We sent out the first draft and they provided comments. We made those edits, sent it again. They had 1 more letter and those edits were requested and we made the updates and folded them into the draft that you see tonight. So here is a process overview. So the project to update these elements kicked off back in late 2020. The 3 elements were drafted in spring of 2021. And made available for public, Planning Commission, and HCD for review. The environmental review was completed in fall of 2021, and Planning Commission recommended approval of the new revised elements in February. So an important factor of implementing and drafting these elements is the community engagement. So during the project, the city incorporated broad community engagement to inform the development of these draft elements. So the first one was 2 community workshops, 1 for housing and 1 for environmental justice, 2 focused groups, 1 on the environmental justice, and we had 2 community surveys one on the housing and one on the environmental justice. Plus, there was also like an online comment form for anyone who wanted to comment on the draft documents. So the staff had to become creative because this was during the heart of the pandemic. So we had these meetings and these workshops via Zoom. And then for our survey, we had like a weekly giveaway of the Takeout and Chill program that we had during the pandemic. And we received 307 residents who participated in the housing survey, and we actually received more for our environmental justice, and we received 487 residents who participated in the EJ survey.
Can you read to me that blue stuff?
Yeah. So these are topics that...
Whoa, I'm serious.
Just an overview, these were topics that were discussed during the workshops. The ones highlighted in green were the ones that were talked about multiple times. I can bring that up real quick.
I want to see someone be able to read it. So the question is, why is it up there if we can't read it?
It's just showing the type of instruments that we use and tools during our workshop.
If I can't read it, how do I know what type it is?
It's just a platform that we had during our workshop. So via Zoom, you were able to see it. I know it's very hard to see tonight, I apologize. But I can give you a summary of what was noted in that meeting, if you'd like.
No, that's okay. When you put these together, consider we have Ken here. He can't see very far.
My glasses work.
Okay, would you read me line 2?
Focus groups.
Line 2 in the blue.
While you're interrupted, I do have a question, and I
Sure.
know you're not finished. Going back to the environmental justice, that L area, that was I in what?
So that L area is on
Because I was just
Avenue.
like the vice mayor, I couldn't see it.
Sure. Let me go back to it.
Yeah,
There's-
right there. Yeah.
So it's Avenue J between 30th Street East and 40th.
Okay. And that is what's the square mileage of that L that you guys?
The square mileage of that L shape?
Yeah.
I don't have that information. I can get it real quick.
It's the same area that is the state of California and the U.S. government has said that in this area it's low income. So they give us more AVA QMD money for grants in that area.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So we also had 2 Planning Commission study sessions on the draft elements, and we had an additional study session on the environmental justice with the Social Equity Commission study session.
We're back to the blue letters.
That wraps it up.
I
So
can read those.
perfect timing. So staff recommends that City Council adopt resolution number 2230 and introduce ordinance number 1090. That concludes staff presentation. I'm available for any questions. We also have our consultant Genevieve Shara with MIG, who has been diligently working with us through this entire time on the draft elements.
Okay, we have a couple business cards to go through, so if you'll have a seat, then they might have questions for you. Nicholas?
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Again, my name is Nick Reyes, and I'm with the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. There's a lot of our members that live in Lancaster, AV area. And we're here to ask is, at what point would it be considered the right timing or the right, moment to introduce some labor, language, community wealth type into this plan? At what point do we want to guarantee the community members that this new development that comes with this plan, it's built by local hire, by responsible contractors, responsible developers that would, provide the basics,
Can I answer your question?
Yes.
I'm all for it, what you're suggesting, but we have to sit down with Palmdale. They have to have the same ordinance. We'll do whatever that we can come to an agreement on, but both of us have to come to the same agreement, and we can do that. So I think you have the support of the city council of what you're asking to do, but you put us and you put our contractors in a bad position when it's only in Lancaster. Then it stops it in Palmdale. So the competition is what drives this. As long as it's done in Palmdale and done here, I can say we're all for it. We're going to adopt a $200 million budget that has a lot of union work that's involved in it. So you have a council that supports the union. So you're asking what's a good time to do it? Not the day of the event that we're going to do it, but if your leadership, I think his name is Josh, is one of them?
One of them.
Okay. One of the ones that I've been working with.
Okay.
And if they can get a hold of us, get a hold of me, we'll work with Palmdale, and we'll come to an agreement that, or what we'd like to see, work with it, and move forward with it. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Again, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Crispin Casero? How are you, sir?
Good afternoon. My name is Crispin Carrasco. It's hard to read it sometimes. I'm also a Southwest Regional Council carpenter, and then basically what I'm doing is to reinforce what my partner Joe said. But adding to that is it's just to make everybody to understand how important is this bill to not just to us, but to the community in general, because what we're trying to implement is a local hire, because we got hundreds of carpenters that they travel every day to work to LA area. Some of them goes all the way to the Pacific coast to work over there. So we try to keep all these people working locally, so the city will get more beneficial. It will get more benefits because all the money they spend outside, as a carpenter, we travel all the time. And everywhere we travel, we spend money. We bring money to the communities because we buy things, we trade things. So it will be so nice that all the money stays locally and it benefits all the local stores. That's the most important thing. So, and then all this project is not just going to be the housing element, it's everything else that comes with it, because you're going to have malls, you're going to have different type of commercial stores. So that's going to bring even more people that can even think, who can even believe. So that's why we're so anxious in one way to say that we would like to see the carpenters be involved on these things, just in general to the public, because we're going to bring benefit, we're going to be quality product, and we're going to bring a lot more happiness to our communities. You got the communities, the carpenters, they're going to have time to take their families to their baseball games, soccer games, or anything, going to the movie theaters. So you create an environment that everybody's going to be beneficial. Everybody's going to get benefit. Not just one person, everybody. Everybody's going to make money, everybody's going to be happy, everybody's going to be locally, and everybody's going to spend here in the city, which is what we want. And then you're absolutely right. One of our partners is Josh Christensen, is the one who is always in contact with you guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
And
Yes,
in the
sir.
future, could you let us know earlier that, I mean, I know that you're reacting to what we're putting out there, But if you let us know, then we can do our part and have Josh reach out to me, and we'll work out some type of agreement. It might take a year.
It would be my pleasure
We were
to
here
do that.
6 months
Yes.
ago, and we talked about it 6 months ago, and nothing's been done since then. So I know you guys are busy, and I understand there's actually a couple thousand in the Carpenters Union that live in the Antelope Valley.
Yes,
So
that's
nothing would
correct.
please us more than to have a local workforce, but we can't give that up for competition. So let's get both cities together, we'll make an agreement, and we'll go from there.
But I understand because this is, at the end, this is a business transaction, but it's basically what we want to be. We want to be on the business table. It's like when you're going to a dinner, there's only two seats. You either sit on the chair or you're on the menu.
Right.
And we don't want to be on the menu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak?
Yes, sir.
Come on up. Can you hand her your card?
Yes.
Anyone else have a card they'd like to, or speak?
For the Carpenters, right?
Correct. Go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for allowing us to come publicly and speak with all of you so you can hear us out. I'm new to Lancaster. I didn't take the advice of people, and I moved to Lancaster, and I'm happy I did. I'm very happy. I love the community I'm in. I love the city, and I love the potential, and I can see you guys do as well, hence the reason why you're here. A couple houses down from my house, it's a vacation rental, and basically, that's absolutely fine, but with that, it basically turns into a nightclub at night. Because somebody rents out the house, and then 100 people or so show up, probably unknown to whoever's renting, and they throw out these outrageous parties. So it's like you have these nightclubs that are in the community next to single-family homes. And it's fine for it to be a vacation rental, but it's not just a nuisance of the parties that are happening, but they also pose a danger. And it's not just the danger of unknown people coming to an unknown place among other unknown people, and trashing the place and throwing garbage down on other people's lawns and blocking driveways, but it poses a danger because a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago actually, there was a shooting and they shot up the area. However, a couple days ago, there's another shooting as well. And I don't think it was that house, but it was just further down. Sounds like you already know which house I'm talking about on Stancliffe. But if you go straight down Stancliffe, north, as far as you can go, the shooting came from that house. And there were a large number of people that were congregating in that area. None of them looked familiar to me. None of them looked like they were from that community. And I have a feeling it was, again, another party house. And unfortunately, I think they're setting a precedent, and other people will start thinking, oh, okay, well, we got two party houses already. Why don't we do ours? Why don't we make ours a party house and we can move out? And, I leave my family when the time comes to serve. I'm active duty in the military, and I'm gone for a couple weeks at a time. So I can't always be there to keep my family safe. But with shootings happening and bullets flying through people's homes, I don't think it even does me any good to be home. I wouldn't even be able to protect them since these are random shootings that are happening and they're coming through these homes.
It's totally unacceptable. Okay. I think you got the message. He's going to fix it. Can someone take his name? I have his card and the information if you need it. Okay. They'll fix it. Were you up here before?
I was not. This is my first time Vice Mayor.
I think it was a group from his neighborhood that came.
It's the same.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's the same problem.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's not fixed yet? But it will be fixed, right?
All right.
He's shaking his head, yes.
All right.
Thank you, Deputy.
So that's the guy over there that can fix it. So he usually gets it done. So we'll get it fixed. Jason,
Awesome.
will you follow up
Thank
with
you.
it?
Yeah, and I would like to add, too, we've also cited that individual 3 times to the tune of about $1,600, so we're well aware of the situation and working hand-in-hand with the Sheriff's Department as well as our administrative citation process to make sure that he feels the full force of the law.
And we've cited him how many times?
3.
And what is the
one was $1,000 for a nuisance household, and then there was business license violations, and there's another one in there. So everything that we could cite him on, we did.
Is it graded up?
Over a period of time, it goes higher.
Second violations?
Correct.
And what are those grades?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it goes up from $1,000 from the first offense.
Exponentially?
Yes.
Okay.
So we don't have a 3 strikes and you're out?
Yeah, we're limited to taking people's property and their rights as well, but we do have authority to cite as well as legal authority from a misdemeanor and other violations.
And when we cite them, do we lien the property?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Is it underage kids are there also, or is it mostly adults?
Yeah, I try not to look at their faces because they look at us weird as we roll into our neighborhood. So
I've gotten reports that it's underage kids are there also, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm sure there are. I mean, I see these younger kids. I can't say if they're underage or not, but they're definitely. I'm sure a lot of them are under 21, and surely there's alcohol and drugs
right.
involved
That's
as
why
well.
I was saying what I was saying. Right. Okay.
It doesn't matter. We'll get it fixed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else like to speak? Okay,
On PH1.
on PH1.
I wasn't quite for sure when you said that. I'll make a motion to approve.
Wait a minute, let me close the public hearing.
You know what? You better close the public
Yeah.
hearing.
You better close the public hearing.
Go
Could
ahead.
you close the public hearing?
But before you close the public hearing, I did need to note that we did receive 68.
I can't hear you.
We received 68 comments from members of the Carpenters Union regarding PH1. If people want to view that, copies of it are on the back table.
Is that
And
all
they have
that
been
was?
provided to council.
So you guys emailed me
Yeah, they emailed me too.
a whole bunch of times. Doing it the day before or the day of a council doesn't help. So let's do it before, and we can get it done. Okay, thank you. Okay, Ken.
I'll make the motion to approve PH1 adopting Resolution 22-30 and Ordinance 1090.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's vote. Passes with 4 yes votes. Okay, we did JPH 1. We'll do JPH 2. That was the city side of it, correct? Okay, JPH 2.
Open the public hearing? Please?
I'm not going to open it now.
Oh, wait, sir.
I'm going to sit there and make her suffer. Okay, open the public hearing. Thank you, guys.
Vice Mayor, Council, this is an exciting time for city government nerds like us, where we get to bring to you our annual budget and share not only what we did, but what we plan on doing, and that's what we plan on doing tonight.
Nobody wants to hear you,
Jason, you need to work on your speaking.
Yeah, they all.
Yes.
Jason, you couldn't be a pastor, Jason.
Yeah,
couldn't be a pastor at all.
I don't think you have a big fan base.
Feels like when I walked in the cafeteria at high school.
That was really bad, Jason.
Yeah, that's really bad. As soon as you get up to speak, you
man.
clear the room.
Looks like a staff
We
meeting.
used to have 300 people. Now we
And you're
have
the closer. Wow.
Wow, Jason.
See, I try to make it exciting. I said this is an exciting time for municipal nerds, and I guess we don't have enough municipal nerds in
They
the
heard
audience.
nerds and
It doesn't look like it's on. So we're going to start by talking about what we
I've heard
did.
Jason speak before. I had to say that.
All right, let's regroup. We're going to first talk about what we've done. And I think it's important to note that over the last 3.5, 4 years, we've done a significant amount of work. And I think it's important to realize that because we get a new paved street, and sometimes we drive back over that street and we forgot it was paved. right? We do a project and we go see it later and we forgot we even did that project because it happened so fast and we're doing so much that we're proud of. We do a little bit of recap as well. Last 3 years, we've done $200 million of capital improvements. Wow. That's over 71 capital construction projects, 2 roundabouts, a skate park, and renovation of our East Side pool, our transportation management system, Owen Memorial Park concession stands, LPAC City Hall. We're in a mode of maintaining and being good stewards of those assets, and we've done that over the last few years. We've updated protected bike lanes and updated roads. Our pavement improvement program, if you haven't noticed, there is a significant amount of pavement that has hit the ground because of your leadership, and it's noticeable. We've had construction in our parks with new parks facilities, with new upgrades, and many more things coming through. We've done interchanges are on the way. We just heard from Caltrans. We're going to hear from Caltrans very soon that Avenue J is going to be almost ready to bid. So that's going to go out here to the streets pretty soon. So we'll see the improvements on Avenue J happening this year. We've seen Sky Tower Park completely renovated, not only the interior but the exterior of that facility, including public art. We've had soccer fields installed. We've had skate parks done, and just picture the skate park was done about 3 years ago is what we're looking at, and how quickly we forget how much we have done. That skate park is nearly brand new, and that park is brand new. We've renovated East Side Pool as well. We've done the See and Be Seen program for safe routes to schools, making sure our children are safe going to school. Our public art, if you haven't looked downtown and other places in our roundabouts, Andy and her team and the Public Art Foundation has done an amazing job with public art. Our fleet and transportation and maintenance system has been upgraded. We have a good system of replacing our fleet to maintain it and be stewards of our assets for our employees. And of course, through partnerships with AVTA, we've had a 100% electric fleet, and it's brand spanking new. We've had economic development successes with the Residence Inn opening up. We opened up our new community center. We've continued the effort for our entrepreneurial efforts in energy and hydrogen, both happening this year and continuing on. We have booked a full season for LPAC coming out of COVID, and those are selling well. My mother went to the mariachi concert, and she said it was sold out. So it's people are getting out and about again. We're programming these facilities and having a great time doing it. Our Museum of Art is working towards that accreditation and, of course, putting on great shows continually and having a great time doing it as well. But most importantly is where we're going. And Trelise is going to talk a little bit about this budget and what it represents about what's happening next. And I can tell you that we stirred things up for the last 3 years, and that's the message I've been giving you for the last 3 years. We're starting to build, build, build. And you'll see this budget represents a $200 million expenditure in our capital projects. And literally, by the time we're done over this next period of time, we're going to have a brand new city hall, brand new facilities. And we're excited about that opportunity. And our team, I got to give a shout out to our team, our capital team, our budget team. Everybody's put this together. You have an amazing team that's working for you. And we're doing great things. And you're going to see some great things tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to Trelise to tell you about the details.
Thank you, Jason.
Welcome, Trelise. The room didn't clear when you got on.
No, I know, but I hope I can keep up his energy because he's pretty hot tonight. So here we go. So here's where we're going. So Jason just talked about the last 3 years. Now let's talk about the next 3 years. So this year in capital programs, and I'll correct Jason because I'm a detail guy. It's actually $191 million. But we have a $191 million capital budget.
Can you make those letters smaller?
We were trying to compete with Cynthia, who left the room already. But
you're close.
Yeah. Well, I promise the next slides, it's huge font. So
do you
good.
Expect us to read those?
No.
I'm trying to send a message to you. If you're going to do us a presentation, at least let us be able to read it.
Got it.
Thank you.
So this year we're budgeting $44 million. That's another 22 projects to our list. The majority of that money, and if you could read that, it's streets and right-of-way, maintenance and repair, facilities and fixtures. That's where the majority of the money's at. So what does that look like? First project we have, the state-of-the-art $40 million, 150,000 square foot event and regional evacuation center, which will be located at the fairgrounds. In this budget, there's $2.5 million, coupled with last year's of $1.5 million, so that'll close out the design of this project. We hope to go into construction fall of '23 and finish that construction in 2024. We have $28 million going into our Avenue J interchange project. As Jason was mentioning, we just about have Caltrans approval. This should go out to bid and start construction this fall, so you'll see more construction. Another $13.7 million in pavement preservation projects. So I think if you guys didn't see, there was a picture over at the florist on Avenue J that said our roads are getting smoother. Yes, the roads are going to continue to get smoother. $28 million for Medical Main Street. So this will build out the master plan of streets here, which will pave the groundwork for the $800 million hospital that will eventually go there. We're building the roads, the sewers, and the storm drains throughout this project. And the next, we have $1.5 million in parks improvements, so kind of piggybacking on what we've already done with those parks facilities. This will redo the basketball courts at Raleigh-Duntley, add one new tennis court at OMP, but most importantly, and I think Jason's favorite part of this whole budget, is 4 new pickleball courts.
That is the new thing now.
We got $525,000 in public art, so that'll be at Prime Desert, and then there's the little pocket park here at Lancaster Boulevard and 10th Street West, and then the shopping center at 15th West and Avenue L, the new where the Sprouts is going. We've got $2 million in LMD improvements going in. That, in addition to the $3 million that are bid, and we'll start construction this summer. There will be a lot of drought-tolerant planting, as well as an abundance of palm trees. $3 million for the biotech incubator, so that is in design now. This money will completely remodel this, and we'll be able to start attracting some biotechnical companies. $835,000 to finish the remodel of LPAC. We're currently embarking upon, and this summer they will do a $1.25 million in lighting improvements. So this will finish that out, and that'll be a state-of-the-art facility there. $1 million for our Recreation and Workforce Training Center. And then 2 site acquisitions. So we got the Antelope Valley Union High School District building, which was on consent calendar today, so that's $1.7 million for the purchase of that. That will be where we locate our public safety team and build out the hybrid law. In addition to this site acquisition, we also built $3 million into the operation budget, so that when we get the public safety director on the board, they have the tools, the location and the tools to build that hybrid law program out. And then we also are looking at the wellness center. So we're partnering with the cities of Palmdale, and we're each putting $5 million in to secure a site, remodel a facility, and then find a local nonprofit to run a drug treatment program for Antelope Valley residents. And then we have the $1.6 million to operate the community center. We have $1.3 million in events in the budget. So our record-breaking Poppy Festival that we had this year, it funds that. The Haunt at the Hangar, Fields of Draft, Magical Christmas, all the events we've grown accustomed to. $2.3 million for the Tide team. This is the cleanup program to clean up illegal dumping. One other thing, we did a sponsorship program as part of this where you could adopt a mile. They call it Tidy Up a Mile. And we've already got 6 companies that have signed up to adopt a mile. So Duke Engineering, Antelope Valley Desert Divers, the Soho Neighborhood, Bravery Brewing, Community Coalition of the Antelope Valley, Community Development Center of USA. So this is kind of catching fire, and hopefully we see the neighborhoods and the communities cleaned up through this program. $400,000 to build out our LTV, so we've signed a contract, and we should start seeing some amazing programming on this channel. And then that concludes all of the projects. As you can see from everything we got going on, we are truly in the midst of a transformation. If you take the $200 million that we just put in over the last 3 years, project out to 2025, it's about a $500 million investment into our city. I don't think any city could compete with that, especially at our size. It's truly amazing. Lastly, the people. All of this couldn't happen without the people here at the city, the staff at the city. They're amazing. They work hard. They work like no staff I've ever worked with in my career. So thank you to them, and just appreciate them. Looking forward to all the great accomplishments they're going to achieve over the next 3 years. With that, I will turn it over to George to dive into the numbers.
Really, Ken? Nothing on the palm trees? saying?
All I can say is finally.
Got it. All right, let's not get him started because he's very passionate about. So let's talk a little bit about citywide. None of this is possible without the funds. So citywide, we're looking at, if you look at the top of the chart, this current fiscal year that we're in, we began with a beginning fund balance of about $204 million citywide. We realized about $288 million in total revenues if you look across all funds. With a expenditure budget of $219 million and $193 million in total capital projects, with the projected ending fund balance of the current year, beginning fund balance of next year of $80 million. The current year that's going to be proposed and in front of you in 2 weeks to approve includes a revenue budget of $324 million. Expenditure budget of $218 million. If you look at the expenditures between the 2 years, they're very, very similar. The capital improvement, so we're adding an additional $44 million to that existing already approved capital budget of $193 that's outstanding in the current year. That'll still leave us with about $141.9 million in fund balance remaining at the end of this fiscal year. Just really highlighting the capital. And when you really think about how much we have in the ground, is that's already been approved, in the budget, that's already been approved, and you add another $44 million, it's not an insignificant amount of money. And if you really think back, the way we were really able to advance a lot of these projects utilizing the same revenues that most cities have, a lot of cities get the same types of allocations from Measure R, from Measure M, from all of those allocations that we get from the county and the allocation we get from the state. But the city of Lancaster was progressive and actually advanced financing to utilize those revenues to get projects going now as opposed to waiting over time to have those projects trickle in. And that's really was advanced thinking, proactive, and helps to get those projects going right away because they were needed now, not needed 20 years from now. Looking specifically at the general fund, we had a beginning balance this year about $66 million. We have, in the current year, we had $124 million in expected revenue. Just note that of that 124, the ARPA money that we received from the federal government, it's their second payment of about $18 million is built into that number. I could speak as of right now, we requested that money and we will receive it next week. And so it'll be booked into the current fiscal year, and that's why you do not see it being booked into and being recognized in the proposed budget for next year. Moving forward to what's going to be in front of you as far as the 2022-23 budget for the general fund, we're looking at revenues of $107 million, expenditures of $107 million. If you really compare the expenditures from the current year to next year, it's very, very similar. And then you'll see us actually double the amount of capital improvement that we built into the general fund. Traditionally, the city's never really built capital improvements into the general fund, but we were fortunate enough during COVID to really put some money away. ARPA money came in. We received $36 million over the period of 2 years, so that helped us build that fund balance as well. So in addition to really putting together a new reserve policy and some other things, we have enough capital to have ample reserves, plus spend some on some new capital projects that Trelise and Jason did a good job of describing for you. So we expect to still have remaining after this fiscal year a fund balance of about $48 million. Reserves are about $42 million based on a new policy reserve policy recommendation that you'll see here in the next couple slides. So there we go, out of the general fund, another $20 million or $19.5 million coming in capital specifically out of the general fund. So we talked a little bit, or Trelise actually went through this list quite a bit in a more graphical nature, but to try to put some numbers to it. One, we really just want to highlight the council being brave enough to put Measure LC on the ballot. We originally anticipated Measure LC to produce about $12 million. We adjusted budget last year. At the time budget was written, so this same time last year, we expected that $12 million to be about $13.8 million. By the time we got to mid-year, which was around January of this calendar year, early estimates came in that tax was going to outperform all of those estimates to the tune of about $21 million. So we were receiving about $21 million per year from Measure LC. As a result, we've been able to add a significant amount of projects over the last couple of years, and I mean this year currently that we're in and the proposed budget that you have before you, and we'll have before you at the next meeting to approve. With that, without Measure LC, we would not be able to do a lot of these projects. So I'm not going to belabor the description of them all, but Trolleys had already gone through them, but the wellness facility, building acquisition, community center, and the like, we would not be able to do those things if it were not for Measure LC. Also, some additional things that are happening this year, we expect to sustain the parks and programming. So last year, it was our resurrection from COVID, right? So we opened up parks. We went back into having special events. We opened LPAC, we opened MOA. We started having kind of trying to get back to normal. And with Sonia and her team, they've been doing an amazing job in bringing events even larger than we experienced before. There is no planned changes for this proposed budget. The idea is to continue those activities going into the next year. You do have 4 new support staff positions that are being recommended in this budget, which is quite a bit. Quite insignificant considering the amount of capital work that's going to be done in the next budget cycle and all that we're able to accomplish. The ask is really only just 4 new bodies, and I'll get into that in a sec. We did implement the 4-year labor contract that was approved early in the year. This is going to be as of July 1. Most of the changes that were approved in that labor contract are effective. And then the new reserve policy was implemented in the current year, and there is one recommendation that has been provided to us by Vice Mayor Chris that we're going to implement as part of this adoption from this next year. Looking at general fund balance, in 2019, we had a very sizable reserve. We were very comfortable. It's not uncommon. So if you're looking at at that time, we had an $80 million or so general fund budget. Your reserve sat at around $33 million. It's really, really well, and that's really good when you start to compare ourselves to other agencies. The year of COVID, we saw a little bit of us digging into those savings to survive. However, when we got through COVID, we realized that we were spending less, and we under-anticipated revenue. So if you take a step back, we looked at Measure LC bringing in $12 million originally. It ended up performing to the level of $21 million a year. So that difference all went into the bank and and also you add our ARPA money in there. So by fiscal year 21, we see ourselves with a very, very sizable fund balance. At the end of this fiscal year, we expect to see that similar fund balance. Now it's time for us to kind of start spending some of that excess capital because we are meeting our reserve requirements, hence the $20 million capital budget that's coming out of the general fund. You're looking at general fund reserve. So last year, and I'm not going to get into all those layers, you've heard it all before, but I do want to talk a little bit about the recommendation that was suggested by Vice Mayor Chris. And looking at the general fund reserves, we break up our reserves in 4 categories. They all have their purpose. They all have their meaning. Our business opportunity reserve / pension resilience is one that's being recommended to change. And so as we look prospectively out, there are a lot of economists that are projecting some downturns in the economy, and how that affects our pension rates on a go-forward basis is one that we should be concerned about. We can be hit with increased rates if the market were to see substantial losses. And so to allow us to be able to sustain our operations, given the amount of revenues that we're bringing in, as tight as they are to the expenditures, we want to make sure that we have some funds set aside to adapt to any type of changes in the market that could affect our pension costs. And so it was recommended by the Vice Mayor that we add an additional 5% to the business opportunity reserves, and an additional 5% to go from 5% to 10%, and set aside that money to make sure that we are resilient and given any changes or significant impacts in the market. So you will see, as part of the adoption at the next meeting, you'll see an amendment to the reserve policy that you adopted last year to note that change. As far as the 4 positions that we talked about, there's one new full-time position that's been requested out of the Parks Department. We talked to actually operate and run the community center. So that's a new facility that this year will see its first full year in operation. So the need to have a full-time body there is important. So that was the recommended ask. You have 200 and some odd, well, I'm sorry, Turley's clarified that number at $191 million of capital projects that are in your budget now if you add last year and this year together. So getting those projects done with proper project management has been requested out of the department. And so 2 new bodies have been requested to help facilitate those projects. I mean, a lot of those positions will be funded by those projects. And then 1 position for the city clerk's office to help with our admin site process and help facilitate that. Measure LC. So as you know, as part of the measure, we formed a Measure LC oversight committee, and we meet with them next Wednesday. So we were not able to meet last week, but we are able to meet next week prior to the council's final adoption of the budget. But this is the list that they will see of those projects and those expenditures that, as I describe it to them, if not for Measure LC, we would not be able to do. And so we put that list together. You do see that there are some ongoing funding obligations that have been created and established as a result of having Measure LC, as well as, and then after those, it leaves us a sizable balance of revenue that's coming in to support some one-time funded activities that can be reallocated in subsequent years on new projects as we move forward from year to year. So your action items for you tonight is just to simply conduct the public hearing, to receive any testimony regarding the budget. There's not a lot of people left to do so.
We should have started with Jason.
We could actually see your slides, too.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you, Alexis. I can't take credit for that. Alexis put the presentation.
Good job, Alexis.
However, the next steps, though, we do want to highlight that on Wednesday of next week, we will conduct that Measure LC committee so they can review that Measure LC project list. And then June 28th, City Council meeting, we will present the final budget document for council adoption, which would include salary tables for next year. The amended reserve policy will be as part of that adoption, as well as the budget for CCEA. And then fiscal year begins on July 1st, 2022. And at that point, we implement the new budget, we monitor it regularly, and then we bring to you any revisions that may be needed that are experienced in those first 6 months at the mid-year process, which we will conduct in the February to March timeframe. So with that, Jason and Trolise and I are available to answer any questions you may have.
Great job. Just pointing out a couple things that I think are real important. It's taken, for the $24 million for Avenue J, me and Ken got that money in 2012 to do that. That's how long it takes to program the money, to get everything done and to get it into the system. And I did notice that you have in the budget that we did it last year, but it's full-time now as far as the trash pickup. We have staff that actually going out there and picking up the trash and trying to make the deserts look a little nicer than they are. So Thank you. Great job.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, great job, you guys.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
So the recommend is just to accept the proposed budget?
Actually, the action item tonight is simply to conduct the public hearing.
Public hearing. Thought so.
So we don't have to vote on anything?
Correct.
None.
Okay.
And I would add, the full budget is available for public inspection if...
I think all those people rushed out to get a copy.
Yeah, probably. So that is available to view, and obviously we have time to understand that and get public input between now and next council meeting.
Yeah, they probably understood George's part because we could read that, but yours and Trelise, not so much.
Marvin said to do pictures for you.
Okay.
Hieroglyphics. Okay, CB1, Sydney.
How's your slides?
And my part is actually pretty short. Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of the council. The item before you is the renewal of the Lancaster Tourism Business Improvement District better known as the Lancaster T-Bid or Destination Lancaster. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mark Hemstreet, who's the new Executive Director of Destination Lancaster, up to kind of give you guys an overview of the renewal process and then also kind of the future of Destination Lancaster.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council, and thank you, Sydney, for the introduction and for our Destination Lancaster kind of update on our T-bid. Our last council meeting, we actually voted to get the process rolling, so now we get to open up for public comment. Destination Lancaster has been around for about 10 years now. I've been involved with Destination Lancaster for about 7 years. I sat on the board as the chamber representative, and so I've been pretty well situated, and I know a lot of things that we go on and what we do and how we try to promote the city and our hotels. And so the new T-bid that we're presenting now is previously we've done 5-year renewals. In a T-bid, the process is about $65,000 to process. When we went back to the hotels, we asked them if they've been happy with what we've done, and they said yes. So we asked them if we'd like to go to a 10-year T-bid. So we can save that $65,000 and actually use that for more promotions. All hotels that are part of the T-bid, we're in favor of that. We did 2 other changes to the T-bid. We removed the AAA rating for participation and made it a straight geographical area. So it kind of follows that hotel corridor down the 14. And it pulls back from like Sierra Highway and just focuses on the new hotels and the first-class hotels that we have in our city. The third thing is that we took the assessment rate of 2%, which we are currently now, and it has a maximum of 3%, and moved up to a 5%. So they can charge 5% of the short-term daily room revenue for hotel guests here. The 5% can be increased in increments of 0.5% a year. So all the hotels did agree on that also. And still, when looking at, when I talked to the owners of the new residence, or the new Marriott Residence Inn over there, they were concerned about our taxes and our fees that we have on their guests. And I was proud to say that, look in California. You're not going to find anywhere that has a lower rate than what our city does here. A lot of cities are at 16, 18% with their TOT and their tourism fees. So we're well below that. So even with the 5% moving it, we're still going to be below the rest of the state. So again, the hotels were very pleased with that and wanted to move on. We're going to have 10 hotels in the process. When we renew the bid, it's going to be the Best Western, the Comfort Inn and Suites, the Hampton Inn, the Holiday Inn, the Homewood, the Marriott Spring Hill, the Oxford Inn, the Residence Inn, the Town Place, and I'm hoping before we get to 2023 that the Fairfield will be open. I know I just talked to him today, and he's hoping that maybe we'll get open by September, which is a huge hurt for him since he's ready to open up today if we can plug him in. Our job at Destination Lancaster is to bring people here. We heard the Carpenters Union talk about when they go and work down below, that they take all their money and spend it down below. So we need to reverse that and bring people from down below back up here, from San Diego to Santa Barbara, from Victorville and Barstow and Fresno, and bring them down and see what we have to offer. And we have a lot to offer. So we're excited to promote the city. Our job is to brand the city as a great place to spend the weekend. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to live, but it's a great place to visit, too. That's what we have. Are there any questions? No? Excellent.
You've done a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I think it'll work out raising it to 5%. So that'll add some extra income to everything. And they raise about $300,000 to $400,000 now.
It raises right now. Our budget's about we're about $500,000 right now. So we'll raise it to $750,000, about $775,000 a
And
year.
what will it be at the 5% at the same rate?
Over $1 million.
Okay.
So 3% brings us up to $775,000, $750,000.
Right. And so there would
5%,
still
and then 5% is going to be not for 2 or 3 more years. So then if you take 3 or 4 years, I know that our occupancy is going to increase, our average daily rate is going to increase. So then therefore your that revenue. And also your TOT, which goes to your general funds, is going to increase too. So.
Okay.
Great job, Mark.
Great. As long as you don't have a quiz
Yes, sir.
afterwards for the budget, guys, I think we'll be fine.
Thanks, Mark.
I was worried there for a minute.
So Ken, do you want to give any other reports on it?
No, but the comfort is that it was unanimous with all the hoteliers. And, you know, historically, when we navigated this, that wasn't necessarily the case. There was a lot of apprehension. And I think over the last 3 to 4 years, they've come to the conclusion that they're well satisfied with what's been taking place with Destination Lancaster. And, you know, we're looking forward to the future years that we'll be able to do the promotion here for the city of Lancaster and bring more people into town. So again, thank you, Mark.
Are we doing a receive and file or?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to receive and file.
Well, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, vote.
I feel like we let Sydney off the hook real easy.
Motion passes.
You'll get me next time.
4. City Council agenda, or the Council CA1. Consideration, nomination, appointment of commissioners to LC. It's my understanding that the mayor nominated Stephen Derryberry.
Yes, sir.
And I will second his nomination. Any questions? Any other nominations? Okay, let's vote. Daryl? Passes with 4 yes votes. Congratulations, Stephen. We'll swear you in at the next meeting. Lancaster Finance, nothing. Power Authority, successor agency. City Manager, any announcements?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think first and foremost, we have a video of Miss California, and I know Daryl and Ken got to meet her, or not meet her, see her again. She's very well known in the community, but we have a short video of that, and you guys might want to share the award and how cool that is.
Yeah, I was glad to meet Miss Tiffany Johnson, a Lancasteran. And so she went from Miss Lancaster to Miss California. And I think that's something to be excited about. Me and Ken had a great time talking to her and sharing. Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was really impressed with her sharing. And, you know, one of her takeaways that she shared with us is what's important to the city of Lancaster. So you can tell it's just not about her and, you know, winning that position. But I think she's going to be a good, I guess, face for the city of Lancaster.
She's going to represent us well, because that's
Yes.
the first thing she asks is what can she give, since all the attention is on her right now, what can she push as an agenda for the city of Lancaster? And me and Ken got to share a lot of things. So.
Yes.
Tiffany's been around for a long time. She has a nonprofit called TIFF, Together in Family and Faith. And she has it and it's been running. So she has been representing the city in other things, but congratulations to her.
Yeah.
Play the video.
I'm Miss California USA 2022, Tiffany Johnson. And the one thing I'm most proud of is that I'm Lancaster grown. And we're here in Lancaster, California to show you what it's all about to be a small town girl. So come with me. Hey, hi, I'm Tiffany. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Congratulations.
I'm Tiffany.
I'm Daryl.
Nice to meet you, Daryl.
Now that's a burger.
And Tiffany is the daughter of former Councilwoman Sandra Johnson. So she was great. Anything else?
Before I start, I want to, Shauna Giovanni here to talk about Juneteenth. You guys want to step up and tell us what's going on? Sorry to put you on the spot, but.
Your slides are big. No
We
slides.
don't have a slide, not yet. Yeah, no, so you won't have to worry about any small images. I think you'll be able to see us just fine. I'll start. So today, as Councilman Doris knows, we did a video to let our community know that this week on Father's Day, we'll be celebrating Juneteenth as well as a whole community and a whole nation. There's going to be vendors. There may or may not be a pop-up skating rink. You're just going to have to show up to find out. There will be cooling stations. There will be a stage. And we'll be celebrating what it means to be free and black in America. And because this is a national holiday, we will be celebrating as an entire community.
One of the things that's really awesome about this event is that it's the first of its time public and private partnership, meaning that we are able to collaborate with community nonprofits and vendors, as well as utilizing city resources in order to make sure that this is successful and that it has buy-in from everyone, which I think is so crucial in these events, and that's definitely something that we have learned from our time here. As Sean had said, this event is going to be taking place over at Sergeant Steve Owens Park from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. We are going to have all of the elements that are really important and pivotal to the Black community as a part of that event, such as music, food, as well as faith, because we know that that is something that has carried us forward throughout the past 200 years.
Yes.
So those are going to be some of the main staple elements during that time, and we're also going to be focusing on Black fatherhood and why it is so important and central to the Black community, and that's just something that needs to be celebrated, especially on Father's Day.
Absolutely. We also want to highlight this is a community event. There is community partners that have planned this, that have gone out and got the sponsors for this event. And we'd also like to say again that although this is Juneteenth has historically been a holiday that was observed by the Black community, what's important for us to remember is in 1865 and leading up to the Civil War, that the abolitionist movement was a diverse movement and that they were all brought together by one sentiment. And there's a reason why the Black community does celebrate Juneteenth in June 8th, commemorating June 1865 instead of in 1862 or 1863 when the Emancipation Proclamation was declared. It is because, again, we should all celebrate it like this. None of us are free until all of us are free. And in June 1865, the last slaves were free. And so abolitionists, white abolitionists knew that. Abolitionists from every color knew that. And today we are celebrating that notion and that sentiment that none of us are free until all of us are free. Any questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I don't have any other updates.
City Clerk.
This is the time to address the City Council Agency Authority on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards may be found on the back table of the council chambers. If you have completed a speaker card, please ensure that you have placed it in the basket in front of the city attorney so that you may be recognized. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please keep in mind the state law prohibits the City Council from acting on items not on the agenda, and your matter may be referred to the city manager. Thank you.
Steve McCormick. Welcome, Steve.
No, thank you very much, Vice Mayor and Council, for listening to me. My neighbor, who was a little bit late and came in and thought it was a public forum and spoke kind of ahead of what was going on. I'm speaking on the same thing about this party house that was going on. We've had, in the last 6 weeks since I was here and spoke, we've had 5 parties. 5 weeks in a row up until last weekend. And my wife made the statement as I was barbecuing on Sunday night, this is the way it's supposed to be, quiet, nice. This gentleman who has the party house, I didn't have time to make enough copies for everybody, but I'd like to give this to you and you can see what he's advertising. He's advertising as of this morning. He's still advertising to rent his house out for parties. If you don't mind, I'd like to hand this to somebody. But we're still concerned We had a party. I had to be out of town Memorial Day weekend for business. I was 200 miles away. At 7:30 that night, my wife is calling darn near in tears because now they're not only at this house, they're congregating in my front yard. I live directly. And they're in my front yard. The sheriff was called by multiple neighbors. 2 units showed up. My wife's describing this to me over the phone. They came, they opened the back of their cars, and they sat down and did absolutely nothing. I've been in contact with the deputy that I was introduced here. He gave me his personal cell phone. Deputy Lance
Jordan.
And I spoke to him for 40 minutes yesterday on the phone. And from his standpoint, their hands are tied. They can't do anything about it. Now, I understand that this gentleman next door to me was fined. Now, that's the first I've heard of this. He's still having parties. He's cleaning up right now, getting ready. I guarantee you there'll be a party this weekend at his house. I can almost assure you of it. Councilman Doris asked if there was underage people there. There's people, small children in strollers there, being wheeled around in the backyard with marijuana being smoked, coming over my fence. If you want to hang out in my backyard, you can get a contact high. Okay? I'm to the point right now, my wife, we bought this house 15 years ago. We were the second people in this neighborhood that bought, or we actually were the first to buy, second to move in. And I know my time is running short, but.
You can have as much time as you want, but, let us do something real quick.
Go right ahead.
What are we going to do? What can we do right now?
Yeah, right now what we can do is every time he has a party, we can fine him, and we're going to plan to do that. The other part of that is a long-term solution as it relates to a new ordinance, as it relates to having these kind of events at all, right? The only outcome of that ordinance is a fine for doing it, right? It's not a crime to have a party. So the sheriff's department, to a certain extent, and John can relay that, people can have parties in their backyards. They can, but if it's a zoning violation, if it's a code violation, then we continue to cite and continue to cite and continue to cite until it's no longer profitable to have parties in your backyard.
But don't we have an issue? Don't we have an ordinance that's over 50 people? You have to have a permit?
I'm not sure of that one. We can research that one. The penalty would be a fine, right? And we would continue to fine. We would continue to fine until you leave the property.
Is he paying the fines?
I'll have to verify whether he's paid the fine or not.
So Jason, the gentleman spoke, and I mean, you wouldn't want to live in his house, and I wouldn't want to live in his house. So can't we just take a black and white and set it over there? I mean, put somebody there. He's got the next.
When is the party?
Next party.
It'll be either this Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We have seen as many as 4 parties in a weekend.
Yeah.
One gets over with, and one starts within 2 hours after it.
That flyer, is it announcing a party this weekend or the flyer that you
No, it
brought?
said this is his advertisements on the sites that he advertises on. It's stating prices, it's stating what he does, and that's all it is just a reference for you folks to see what is going on. And I live right next door to him. And up until a year and a half ago, we didn't have any problems. And then he learned how to do this.
Sure, it's probably making him some.
Well, it's $895 a night.
Yeah.
Run 2 parties a weekend, he just made his house payment.
Yeah.
And if you want to know the truth, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I have a lot of information. My wife can find information on a computer like you wouldn't believe. The man has 3 mortgages. He got a loan here recently from the state of California, interest-free, $50-some thousand. Okay? His house has been within 1 day of going to auction. We know this. It's public knowledge. My wife, we were praying like you wouldn't believe that this thing would make it to auction, and somewhere along the line, somebody saved him at the last minute. But he's been doing these parties for a year and a half, and it's getting to the point my wife doesn't feel safe. I have to leave town about 10 weekends a year for an organization that I work for. And my wife doesn't feel safe at home by herself. I'll be honest.
Okay.
On Friday nights, I don't feel safe.
We're going to fix it.
Okay.
Captain, you park a unit over there this weekend and make sure that it doesn't happen? Is that good enough for now?
I appreciate anything we can get right now.
No, it's going to stop.
I appreciate anything.
And-
Thank you for taking the
Park a unit
interest.
over
I
there
really
and-
appreciate it, and
Yeah.
so do my neighbors, because it's not just affecting me,
No,
it's
we
affecting
understand that.
everybody.
We understand that.
Thank you very much for.
We're not doing our jobs if it continues.
Yeah.
So you've brought it to our
yes.
attention, you've brought it to our attention respectfully, and I appreciate that, and now it's in our ball court. Jason, we need to do something.
Yeah.
Allison, find something. to
Is
do.
that not a business? I mean, if he's charging to get in there, is that, I mean, I know we have a ordinance.
So it's
and
the
we're
rental business license he would need to have, and I will follow up.
And
And
we
Yeah, I
cited
mean,
him
let's
for not
go
having
after
one.
it that way.
He's been cited for not having that. I'll be looking into whether we can declare it a nuisance property and pursue him in that fashion, and seek a court order to abate the nuisance behavior. So I will be looking into this starting tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, if anybody traded positions and we were there with him, I could fully understand that. That's ridiculous.
Cap, he said that the officer said that their hands were tied. What do you need from us as a city to untie your hands?
The short-term solutions are difficult. The long-term solution of the abatement has always been the most successful. We understand it's frustrating. We can be out there and we can slow the progress of it, but the ultimate long-term solution is the abatement and taking the property away from them.
Can we, Allison, notify his mortgage companies of what he's doing from his
On my
city
list.
aspect?
That's on my list of things to do.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We'll get it
gentlemen.
taken care of.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Sorry for you having to come back.
Thank you for listening.
Stephen Hemmert? Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for taking me in last minute to kind of speak about my business. It's Stephen Hemmert Wines. We're located at 44732 Yucca Avenue, right down from the new community center in the Duke Engineering Building. What brings me here tonight is that we had multiple places that we could have located our winery and business, but we chose Lancaster for a couple of reasons. One was affordability, I'll be very honest. But the biggest reason is that when we approached the city and the chamber about what we wanted to do, is that they were very welcoming to us. They made it very comfortable for us to be here and express that they wanted us here. And I know it wasn't just for revenue, because we're not that big of a winery yet, though we are growing. But it was because I think they saw that we could make a contribution to the community as well. We've had a good few years. We even made it through COVID with the help of Donna Tamir, who spoke us through a lot of trouble at the time. Also Charles Boswick. We're very appreciative of that. What has happened, though, in the last couple years is very disheartening, though. I sent some photos here of what's been happening in our area. And what is disheartening about it is seems like there's nothing I can do. And that is, we've had 3 major fires in the area set by homeless people, 3 just at the old hockey rink or the skating rink right across the street from us. We also had one right behind us of a structure that was set on fire not once but twice. Next door to Duke Engineering, an RV was set on fire about 3 months ago and almost torched the building. Thank God the fire department was on hand and took care of it. But across the street from us is a homeless encampment with a lady who's very well known in the community by the name of Crystal, who has constantly harassed my customers, harassed me, threatened a bus tour that we had come through 2 weeks ago to where the sheriffs were called. Nothing transpired from that, but it's gotten to the point of being very threatening to customers to come onto my property. In addition to that, right next door to us is an empty piece of property that I have reported numerous times that the owner be sequestered to clean up the property. It's 3 feet high in weeds It has tons of furniture, clothing thrown down, the gates are torn down, the fences are torn down, and I will guarantee you with the summer coming and the heat, it's going to go up in flames, and that could endanger the building and the church next to me. And I'm asking for help, and I don't know where to turn, to be honest with you.
I just looked at those pictures and they're horrendous. Jason?
Yes, we're very familiar with the individual. We clean it up on a regular basis. We are limited as it relates to our ability to arrest homeless people, limited to our ability to ticket homeless people. Our staff is very well aware, and I know they're responsive to you in getting the facility cleaned up and moved. And she
Jason,
moves.
I understand the limited portion. Will you explain it to those people at home?
Yes. So state law and certain federal court cases limit our ability to arrest for homelessness, right? You can't arrest somebody for homelessness.
It's not a crime.
It's not a crime. So what we do is we have a process where we post property. On public property, we have, in certain areas, we have immediate ability to enforce and remove people. Again, not to arrest them, but just move them. We then spend, as you saw in the budget, about $2.3 million a year cleaning up after them. So we end up moving them around because we have no limited authority or limited ability to do anything with them. They're still homeless when we clean up their homes. Right. This lady specifically, I know, comes back to the same spot, and I know you're aware of that as well. Yeah. And it is just a very difficult situation. I understand that LASA was sent out, who is responsible, a county agency responsible for getting housing, and went out there and gave her socks. So the agency who's available for housing and some other things also aren't doing their job. We try to do our job in cleaning up. We try to do our job in moving along. But at the end of the day, this person has some issues and needs to be housed. As it relates to the building, we currently have that building in adjudication. So we're going to have the right very soon to go in and tear it down ourselves. So as you know, that's an adjudicative process where we don't have the authority to do that. The judge has to give us that authority, and we're in that process right now, and I believe it's imminent that we're going to get that authority to go in and tear that facility down. We understand it's a problem, and it just, right. I apologize. It takes time to get through the court process. And if you had property, you wouldn't want the city tearing it down either. You'd want to go through an adjudicated process. So we're in that process right now on that property. We have these, you guys hear the homeless story regularly. We see it on Avenue K. We see it under the bridges. We see it everywhere we go. We continue to spend millions and millions of dollars of public resources moving homeless people around. And we we have a homeless facility that this council invested in that we can't force these people to go into. It is a very difficult situation.
It is, and if I can add just quickly, too, is that not only is there the potential violence from her, which she did approach one of Ryan Duke's workers about 2 weeks ago with a stick and was beating on her window inside the property. I went and chased her away so the girl could get out of the car and go in. I'm now finding, according to the Sheriff's Department, that I need to call 911 when something like that happens, because it not only records the incident, but it also could become a felony, because my understanding, and I'm willing to be wrong here, is that unless it's a felony, it won't get tried, and it won't get her the help she needs to stay off the streets, or at least across the street from us. And that's kind of scary, because that means that she's got to venture onto our property, commit some kind of felony or threat for us to report it, maybe not once, but twice, maybe 3 times before anything can be done. And I'm losing customers. I really am. I had a busload of people, like I say, came in from San Fernando Valley on a tour up to Tehachapi. They got off the bus. She started screaming and yelling at them. The bus driver called the Sheriff's Department. Again, they couldn't do anything. And people were scared to death. And, you know, I want to stay vibrant here in the community. I want to grow my business, but I need help. However it can happen, I need help.
Jason, help him as much as you can. Write a letter to LASA. I'll sign it. Tell them we need more help other than a pair of socks.
And I was there when that happened, by the way, the pair of socks.
I got feedback.
What keeps bringing her back to this location?
I'm not sure that you may know.
I think I have an idea. To give you an idea, when we first got into the property, which is March of 2018, we started fixing up the property. She was down past Mathers Brothers, the ice place right on the corner there. She migrated about another 100 feet closer, was there for, I want to say, about 2 years or so, and then decided her new location would be in front of the hockey rink or the skating rink. I will be very honest with you, have moved her twice. And what I mean by that is taking her possessions, moving them to another place, but then she migrates right back to the same place. I've tried being nice, I've tried being, helpful, and I get cursed at and stuff thrown at me. So, again, I understand it's a mental illness issue, which is much larger than, anything we can handle right now, but it is kind of scary. And when you have one of my employees that went out 2 days ago over this weekend to put trash, she approached him but stood outside the area and started cursing at her and calling her names. She ran back in, locked the door, and left. So it's very scary. And one thing I really need help, and I know that you guys can help me with, is the property next door, because I know that I live in a rural area of Agua Dulce. Every year I have to weed abatement, clean my property for fire hazard. This place next to me that you saw the pictures of it's ready to go up. If somebody drops a match or a cigarette, it's going to go up and it's going to burn everything around it. So I know there has to be something we can do to get the owner, which I understand lives in Washington State, to clean it up. That would really help.
Yeah, Jason, to his point, I had a lot off a date. And I know that one year I got a notification, I think it was from the county, because the weeds had grown up. We had it fenced. And to abate those weeds, can't we get the county to? Yeah, I mean, why is it that, we took care of it and that was the end of that, because after that we took care of it, did responsible maintenance of the property after that point. But I would think the county should be able to help us out there too as well.
Yeah, I know the fire department has rules, and we do too. That's news to me, so if there's an issue there, we'll get on it right away.
Okay, looks like we can come at least that a couple different ways.
There's pictures here of it.
Okay. Is it the same as the skate rink, or is it different?
Sorry, sir?
Is that the same as the skate rink, or that's a different property with the weeds?
It's right next door to me between the church and, it used to be the old pulmonary center.
Right.
It's between there and my property.
We'll get somebody on it right away.
Yeah.
Do what you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate your time and letting me
Let us
express
know.
myself.
Call us.
Okay.
If you need more help, we'll try and stay on it.
Yeah, the last thing we want you to do is close the business, move the business.
Well, I wanna
That's
grow.
all we're wanting you to do.
I definitely want to grow. There's 6 wineries out here in this area now, counting Golden Star out in Pear Blossom. There's 3 major breweries, as you know, and we're all buddies and friends and trying to grow business and stay here. And we love, Lancaster. We've had great support, especially during COVID, which we thought we would go out of business. We'd only been open about 9 months before it hit, and we got great support and we want to stay here. But I just think for us to grow, we really need some help, because the area I know eventually is going to be developed from what I hear, but right now it seems to be going the opposite direction, and I appreciate any help you can give us. Thank you.
Marvin, I also think we need to be aware and watch our stations again, because my wife just reminded me, we saw that LA just recently cleaned up the whole area because of some visitation that was going on. And all of a sudden, the homeless that was there just disappeared. And we know what they're capable of doing and sending them up this way. So I've had a lot of members also say they've been seeing a lot of people with backpacks and suitcases. I don't know if it's just recent or if it's just, they're just nervous right now because of what happened before up this way. So we need to keep that in mind also.
Okay.
All right.
Appreciate it. Council comments? Darrell?
Nothing at this point other than what.
Yeah, you do. You went to the
I was
Board of Realtors.
Again, I don't want to went to the Board of Realtors today with our vice mayor and had a great conversation with the Board of Realtors and their concerns, and we also shared with them the great things that we were doing in the city. And I think a lot of the talk also turned into the concern of the waste management. We spent a considerable amount of time on that, but was a great meeting today.
Raj? Ken?
I actually have two things before you, I have an item before you adjourn, but this last weekend I had the opportunity to go over to AV Chevrolet, and I wanted to personally thank Justin and what they were able to do along with sheriff boosters. They were etching the catalytic converters and as a public service. And I was just, when I was there was over 100 cars that come through. And, you know, we don't stop and often take the time to thank some of the businesses. And then again, with the cooperation of the sheriff boosters, hopefully this will end up being a good deterrent. Because I asked, could we do it again? Maybe get a little more publicity. Because I think we get that out on the street, maybe people get the hint, this isn't the place to, don't come to Lancaster and think you're going to get a catalytic converter. That's not a good idea. And anyway.
Yes, I'm sorry. And can I jump back in?
Sure.
I did remember something. A team of us, Jason and Alexa and Miss Jen, went up to Sacramento for the hydrogen conference. And we had great meetings with a lot of prospective hydrogen companies to try to get them out this way. We know that's part of our new goal is to become a hydrogen place. And we found a lot of companies interested in the Antelope Valley. We also found out what some of the hurdles were. And I didn't realize that the government, the state, tries to give the bigger cities more of an advantage of coming out that way before they come to the cities that are already doing things that is leading to clean energy. And I kind of found that a slap in the face when we have one of the #1 bus companies that is making money that is totally electric. We've proven ourselves as an electric and what is it, zero, how do you say it? Zero emissions. And we're green energy that they're not looking towards us because they're still trying to push it towards some of the other cities. So I had a great time with our wonderful staff. They are geniuses, Alexa and Jason and Jen, and I was really pushing our city really hard. So yes, I will say, I'm sorry, I did forget that also. Great conference in Sacramento. Had a great time.
Jason, we talked before in regards to having an ordinance that requires the car dealers when they sell it to etch that information on either or paint it. Have you done anything with that?
We have not. If you want us to meet with the car dealers to find out what that opportunity looks like, we can definitely do that.
Well, I don't think it's a big deal to put it on there. We could maybe give them a grant to help them through the first year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was going pretty quick.
But if we start putting them on all new vehicles and all, you know, then it's a crapshoot for the criminals to come in and is it a new car, old car? The newer cars have the better elements in them. Let's just see if we can get ahead of this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I like that. Great idea.
All right, so on behalf of, I got a couple of words I'd like to share with everybody here. On behalf of the council, we want to close this evening's meeting in memory of the Vice Mayor's Marvin Christ's mother, Dawn Rosemary Christ. She was born in an English countryside. She understands the resilience of a young age, being a survivor of World War II, and in later years immigrated to the Mojave Desert. Known for leading her life with humor, kindness, impeccable aim with a slipper, I suspect Marvin got that a couple of times. Dawn will be remembered and missed by all who knew her, and I would like to take a moment of silence in honor of her memory tonight. So we'd bow our heads.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Do we have closed session?
We do.
Okay. We will adjourn to closed session and we will be back. So you guys are excused. I don't think we need staff anymore?
No, we do not need staff anymore, and we're going to close session on agenda items 1 through 24 as listed on the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, we're back in session. City Attorney.
In closed session, the council took up closed session agenda item number 13 and gave direction to staff and legal counsel. No reportable action.
Okay, with that, anything else? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.